TV. We're back on Basford Green again to do the second film. Done a night on the bottom one. I fished the bottom one this time, and I've just had this little fella.
Right, Sam off the forum has asked a question. On the last video we did here, we spoke about tight lines and slack lines.
Yep.
And you mentioned semi-slack lines.
Yes.
So Sam would just like you to run through how you personally set up your semi-slack line so we can get the gist of it.
No problem. Alright. Basically, I'm just going to cast the rod to your chosen spot to start with. Okay. What I do now is I basically take the line like so I can feel it rather than do it straight off the reel. And just feel the line gently till the two V's meet together and you've sank your line where you broke that surface film. As the line sinks, you take up the slack with your finger as opposed to the rod, so you're not moving the lead out of position or your hook bait or anything like that. Okay. Once the line's actually broke the surface, all I do then is, true tackle tart fashion, is get the reel in position and the handle, and then basically, because I'm stood right next to the rods, I'm not walking back to a different location. I've actually cast at my rods, so I'm not dragging the lead back. I basically just gently take the line off the spool, just make sure that the line is actually sank to the rod tip. Basically put your rod in position, and I take any remaining slack just so you get a bow off the end of the rod. So the line's actually bowed. Can you see it tight now? Okay, just enough for it to, that means your leader and everything is actually dropped at the lead end now because you've got no tension in the line. So the critical part is making sure the leader, and probably 10 foot behind the leader of your line is the bit that's running nearest the lake bed. Then your line will gradually come off to your rod tip. And literally all I do is clip my bobbin on, like so. Just pull the bobbin into the position that I want. And just let the bobbin rest in position, and that just takes the slack up. You've not actually pulled the line that's from your lead end, you've just literally let the bobbin take up the slack from the rod tip. That's what I class as a semi-slack line. It's how I fish pretty much all my rods. Unless I'm snag fishing, you need it obviously with your bobbin right at the top. So there's no giving it, just a stretch of the line is all that's there. And that is the way I've fished for donkey's years now. You know, I've obviously caught loads of fish doing it, and that's what gives me confidence myself.
Right, Paul, just got a quick question for you from one of the lads off the forum, Steve, Johnny Vegas. Just basically wants to know, really, because you run a busy shop, do you take weather conditions into account when you're deciding to go fishing or not? Or would it just be a case of it's the only free time you've got and you're going for it?
Obviously, given the choice, weather conditions play a massive part in terms of whether you're going to catch or not. Don't have the luxury of that, unfortunately. I just have to basically go when I can. You know, if the conditions are looking like, you know, there's no chance of a bite, then I'd rather not go at all and save my brownie points, you know, at home, and sort of like maybe use it for when there's a better weather pattern coming in. I can literally organise trips to go places, even quick overnighters, and they just get kiboshed the same day. Things just crop up that I can't do nothing about. So yeah, to a certain degree I do just go whenever I can, you know, but I won't tend to go if the conditions are absolutely rubbish for a bite. So I will leave it and try and, you know, maybe go the week after or even a week after that. It's just, you know, things are hectic, so I just don't get the opportunity for the weather patterns and to go as and when, unfortunately. But if you have got the option to do that, I would definitely say do it, because it does catch you more fish, that, without a shadow of a doubt.
Gary from Carp Angling has asked a question about how to set up and use the adjustable zig rig, and Paul is going to demonstrate that for us now. Over to you, mate.
Okay, the adjustable zig, basically it's a buoyant section float, fish with a hook link with a buoyant bait, so you can fish the bait through different layers in the water column. Basically how you set it up is your main line, you would slide a lead. I prefer a square pair type lead in a running version, about 3 ounces like this one is. So you thread that up your line. This is a Fox adjustable zig rig with a boom, big bead at the end of it. That gets put on bead first, so the float's standing at the other end. To that then is attached a size 8 ring swivel, and to the ring of the ring swivel is a hook link. Now the choice of your hook link length is dependent. I tend to fish them about 3 foot. I tend to not worry about the bubbles spooking them. I don't think it really matters. I've seen them approaching the baits and taking them, no spooking them whatsoever. I'll go into the actual components used to make the hook link in a second. So basically once you've threaded everything on and you've tied your hook link and everything, you just bring it all back down like so, and make sure that the ring swivel goes into the little rubber grommet at the end, so it semi-fixes it. On the hook end of it I've got a piece of black foam, and something I do myself is a little piece of tubing like what I do on my bottom bait rigs, only a very small sliver, just to adjust the angle of the monofill into the right angle for the hook to sit right. Again, a little piece of black foam on it. To that now I attach a piece of buoyant rig foam. Just lick it through the middle, fold it over, just gently squeeze it together like so. So it sits like that. Okay, the reason for that will become apparent in a minute. When you're actually putting it out, I'll put this one relatively close so you can hopefully see exactly how it works. Okay, once it's hit the water, bring everything to the surface like that. You can see the actual float on the surface now. Okay, what I tend to do then is put it onto my rod rest stroke alarm, and then start bringing it down through the surface. Now once that drops down, you see how the foam is actually following it. Okay, when that foam goes under the surface, you know exactly when that foam bobs down that one, the hook link isn't tangled because you've watched it follow the float, and the second part of it is that the bait is actually sat just on the layer of the surface. Now if you want to take that 12 inches, 18 inches, 3 foot, whatever it is, under the actual surface layer, now because it's on the top, all I do is I pinch the line at the 12-inch interval and I will pull that back, turning the reel like so, 12 inches. Now that now is set at 12 inches under the water. You see how the foam's popped up now and actually floating on the surface. The bait is now 12 inches below it. If you want to then go further, or you want to bring it further up, you can adjust it via the reel. You don't have to reel it in or anything like that. You can literally just peel line off at the relevant interval. So if I wanted to bring that up now back to 12 inches, just turn the drag off the reel and pull 12 inches of line off, like so. Reset your reel, and now that float will have risen 12 inches further up in the water, just like a marker float would if you was peeling line off a marker float, and in turn the hook link will then follow that float, and that will also pop up 12 inches. It allows you then obviously to work through the water column. You can literally do it inches at a time or feet at a time, depending on what the situation is. One thing that I see people do quite regularly is the way that they set the bobbin up. Now if you was to fish with your bobbin, just hold that line there slack, or with a drop on it, something like that, what will happen now is if I let go of this now, the line that I'm trapping, okay, the float will start creeping up. See how the bobbin's moving, and what will eventually happen is the buoyancy of that float will pull that bobbin to the surface, and it'll end up something along the lines of that. And what that's done is whatever the drop that you put on the bobbin, eventually when that pulls to the top with the buoyancy of the float, you'll have adjusted your float that depth. So you think you're fishing 12 inches under the surface, you're actually not, because once that slack's suck up and the floats pull that slack up, is your bait will rise, so you don't actually fish at the depth that you think you are. The way to set it up is once you've got it to the depth that you want it, so take that 12 inches back off it, set it on a semi-slack clutch so it can't be, no line can be pulled off it. But the way to fish it is with your bobbin right at the front like that, with no drop on it whatsoever, on a tight line basically. So as soon as you get a take on that now, generally the type of bite detection you sometimes get screaming runs off them, but generally it's a bit like a bream take. It'll tend to bob about a bit like that, and that's because of, if you've got sort of like a 7-foot hook link from the lead to where the bait is, there's a lot of free movement there for the fish, and as the lead runs away when they pick the bait up, your bobbin, because it's tight, will tend to take the slack up that running lead creates. Hence it's almost like a bream take, a little bit twitchy. If you do get little twitchy bites fishing the adjustable zig, or any zig for that matter, hit them, because generally speaking, if that bobbin's moving, there's definitely a fish on it. In terms of components used, there's a lot of different types of products on the market. You've just seen the black foam that I've just used. Brand new out of these fellas, these are Zig Bugs. That's the fluoro one. That comes in black and white, red and white, and yellow and white. They mimic sort of like flies, little spiders, that sort of thing. We can get in on that. These are basically on the hook, so you can just tie a hook via a Palomar knot to the eye and just fish them. They're obviously buoyant enough to pull everything nice and tight. There's another version of them. These are what they call the flow ones, the fluoros, and these are the black ones. Now what these do is these mimic sort of like little insects. You've got one that's got legs on it there, which is almost like a spider. One that maybe mimics something like a water boatman, a stroke of beetle, water beetle, and one that's got like a bit of a tail on it and a tadpole type shape. Obviously the tadpole ones would be good when you've got like frog spawn hatching, that sort of thing. It'll mimic sort of like natural food. But these other two, a spider could drop in the water at any time of the year, really, through the summer. So Zig Bugs, another great addition to fishing buoyant up baits. In terms of the actual hook link line, your main line, I just fish the same main line as what I do, when I'm fishing on the bottom. But your hook link is quite important because you want it to be obviously very, very clear in terms of visibility, but you need a little bit of strength. So this is what they call NXT Zig Flow. It comes in 3 breaking strains, which is an 8 and a 10 and a 12. There is 100 metres on it, so you get plenty of hook links at 3-4 foot a time. So that's a specialist line purely for zig hook links. Bait, obviously spod cloud. Probably everybody's heard of spod cloud now, but a lot of people don't tend to know what to use in terms of spod cloud. That's the one that I personally recommend and use. It's a great product. It's one from Nash. It's been developed specifically for fishing zigs and making a cloud in the upper layers. Ways of mixing it: don't mix it too runny, because when you're putting it out in the actual spod, it'll be all over you, dripping out of a spod. If you've got a spod with holes, and you'll need to tape it up, to stop it all running out of it. So the consistency that you want of it is not too runny, but not too stiff. It needs to come out and create that cloud. What do you mix it with? Get a bucket, put that in, add some lake water, and get it to a consistency that you're after. Then I add sort of like a carnation into it, or condensed milk, something that's really going to colour the water up. And all these very fine particles in it will sort of like hover at different levels. And when the carp come into them, there's not actually any food there, it's all visual. And you've got a little black bait that's about the only thing that looks like food in amongst it, or a zig bug, whichever. One little thing that I do to him, I have a little product that I make for myself and we sell in the shop, which is called Secret Sludge. We do them in various flavours and colours. Just for example, we do like Tooties, Scopex, pineapples, mulberry, etc, etc, and they're all in sort of like reds, oranges, pinks, yellows, and you can turn the colour of your actual spog cloud, rather than it just being like a milky white colour, you could have it yellow or orange or pink and actually create a spog cloud unique to yourself, and actually create a flavour in it as well. But you know, the idea is when that spog cloud goes into the water, it just disperses and stays in the upper layer, and you fish your zigging amongst it.
How you doing, mate? Alright,
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Gary. I think that's pretty much got zigging covered quite thoroughly. Thank you.